So it's been confirmed that Sandro Tonali can resume training with his teammates back at Newcastle United's HQ here in Benton. Newcastle have had the legislation through from FIFA which shows them exactly what he can and can't do. So for him, the 10-month starts. He's going to be back in August, and Eddie Howe basically stating in his press conference today how it's going to be a mental test for the player moving forward. Eddie Howe also dusting himself down after that Man United game. Obviously a win, nothing to be negative about, but in terms of injuries, doesn't look like there's going to be anybody back in time for this clash against Arsenal. But he's still going to have selection issues because in the midfield you've got 4 players vying for 3 places, and there'll be obviously options in attack as well. So a lot to decide for Eddie Howe. I asked him if he faces upsetting players moving forward. He said he's always upsetting people in terms of selection, so it's going to be interesting to see what the team sheet will be against Arsenal. A tough test for Newcastle moving forward, trying to stay in touch with the top 4, but good spirits here at Benton, and Newcastle now looking forward to that game against Arsenal on the back of a great win against Manchester United in the Carabao Cup. We also discussed in the press conference the hectic December that Newcastle are going to have. It's already hectic enough normally at the best of times, but because obviously Newcastle are now in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup away at Chelsea, and they do have that last Group F game against AC Milan, it is going to be more hectic than usual with 8 fixtures for Newcastle to negotiate. And Eddie Howe already has an eye on that, which he spoke about in the press conference, managing the schedule. But the good news is hopefully they will have a number of players back by that time. Alexander Isak, Ali Anderson, and probably Harvey Barnes might even be back a little bit sooner than that. So Newcastle will be in a good place to cope with that level of fixture demand. And Eddie Howe today was pretty much in upbeat mood against ahead of this game against Arsenal, because this really is a chance to get back in touch with the top 4 for Newcastle. They're sitting in 6th at the moment. I asked him his emotions about being in the top 6, because obviously Newcastle finished 4th last season. It's a bit of a drop, but given the sticky start Newcastle had and all the injuries they've been dealt with, personally I do think it is a great achievement to be sitting in 6th place. I did ask him what his emotions were. Was he satisfied? Was he proud of the players? He said proud was more the line he would sort of go down. He feels that to be where Newcastle are, given all the setbacks they've received, is a big achievement in itself. So, but as always, he's hungry to improve on that and get Newcastle into an even better place going into the new year. The press conference was also sort of dominated by more questions about transfers. Eddie Howe basically not in a position, he says at the moment, to really comment on January, because he doesn't, the last 6 weeks, Newcastle have been dealt so many blows. They could have easily made plans and then had to change them. So I think he is in that place. I think they are looking across the board, the recruitment team, to make sure Eddie is backed in the next window. So as the weeks go on, we're going to have more and more on that. But again, he was just sort of getting warmed up on questions. He said it's impossible to tell at this moment in time where Newcastle will go in the January window. I'm sure he'll have a little idea in his head who he wants to sign, as he always does. But at the minute, I didn't really have too much guidance on that one. And now we just look forward to the Arsenal game. Can Newcastle do it? Can they beat Arsenal? Got beaten this fixture last season. They were held at home, held away from home, and in this one 0-0 draw. But certainly a game Newcastle you feel can win. There will be selection problems for Eddie Howe, but certainly a big chance for Newcastle to go and win this one at home in front of a packed house at St James's Park.